If you're watching this video, it means I failed to stop it. You're about to see how red venom showed up at my door, grew up in my apartment, and why the city ended up in chaos, and how red venom finally came face to face with the regular venom out on the road. Their encounter hit the news, and in one shot, just for a second, you can see the black venom. He's standing in the road, staring at one spot, like he's waiting. Then they cut to another angle. At the far end of the street, red venom is there. He's staring straight ahead and not moving. They just lock eyes, and in the same moment, they both take off, running straight at each other, closing the distance. And if you think this is just a monster, it isn't. I saw him when he was tiny. I watched him learn. But the real question is different. Who brought him to me, and why? Let's start from the beginning. It was late at night. I was almost asleep when someone rang the bell. One quick buzz. I got up, checked the peephole. No one there. I opened the door and saw an iron container on the threshold. Heavy, cold, no address, no note. Just two latches and a sticker that said, "Do not open around people." I should have left it outside, but curiosity got the better of me. There was a fresh scrape on the metal, like it had been dragged across the floor. I carried it inside, set it down, and just stared at it for a minute. Something inside shifted, quietly, as if there was something alive in there. I unlatched it. I lifted the lid, and there he was, a small, red venom. He didn't jump or bolt. He just looked at me. I took a step. He didn't back away. I spoke softly, and he stayed calm. I shut the door, muted my phone, and sat down next to him. He sat too. We just watched each other. I thought silence was the most important thing, but even then I couldn't shake one thought. If someone brought him here, they knew I'd open it. And by morning I realized what would decide everything. What I was going to feed him. That night he barely slept. He paced the room, stopped, listened. In the morning I tried feeding him normal food. I offered a piece of fish. He sniffed it and turned away. Then I held out a slice of pizza. He ate it fast. Last, I tried a bit of red chili pepper. He tasted it and clearly loved it. Then I made a mistake. I gave him a small piece of raw meat. He grabbed it instantly. 2 minutes later, I could already tell he'd gotten stronger. He started moving with more confidence, climbed onto a chair easily, then onto the table. And that's when I saw the web for the first time. Thin, red strands stuck to the handle of a cabinet. I froze. It hit me. This thing had a kind of power I didn't understand. And the worst part was that he was learning right in front of me. Fast. That was the first time I thought, if he grows from food, how many days until he's too big for my place? The next few weeks I kept everything quiet. I tried not to scare him, not to do anything stupid. I only gave him tiny bits of chili when I needed him to be more active. I avoided meat, but sometimes I still gave him small pieces. And every time, I watched him get bigger. He got more agile. He could climb the walls. He could shoot a strand at furniture, pull an object toward himself, then let it go. Sometimes he would just sit and stare, like he was memorizing the apartment. But the red webbing kept spreading, first near the ceiling, then by the window, then by the door. I cleaned it up. He did it again, like marks. By the second month, he started opening cabinets with webbing. He wasn't breaking anything, just tugging a handle, checking what was inside, and closing it again. That's when I realized he was testing boundaries, getting used to being in control. A couple weeks later, I took the risk of a short walk, very early, when the courtyard was almost empty. He followed me out and immediately jumped onto a lamppost, then onto a tree. The strands helped him cling and drop down. A minute later, he came back, and I felt lighter. And then, in the distance, a scooter went by. A sharp, sudden sound, just for a couple seconds. Red Venom flinched, froze, and stared toward the street. I understood right away. He didn't like the city. We went home immediately. After that, there was one day when he behaved perfectly. No new strands anywhere, just sitting quietly. I even thought we'd figured it out. But that night, he suddenly lifted his head and started listening to the street, like someone had shown up out there. More time passed. He grew to the point where the apartment felt too small for him. His steps got heavier, the webbing appeared more often, and the strands held tighter. That day, everything was calm. He ate and went to his corner. I figured it was just a normal evening. Late at night, he suddenly raised his head, froze, and stared toward the front door. Then he looked at the window, then back at the door, like he'd sensed something. I quietly called him by name, but he didn't react. He stood there listening, as if he was waiting for one specific sound. And then he headed for the exit, fast, certain. I took a step after him and stopped, because I understood. He wasn't playing, he was leaving. I didn't chase him right away. One thought pinned me in place. If he's leaving on his own, he's going somewhere that matters more than home. A few minutes later, alerts started popping up on my phone. Smoke, fire, intersections abandoned. And in one clip, the Black Venom. And I realized, Red sensed him before anyone else did, and went straight there. I drove to where they were filming. The closer I got, the fewer cars there were. Then the smoke. Then the smell of something burning. Then empty streets. When I finally reached the spot, it looked exactly like the video. A few cars sat at odd angles, one on its side. A traffic cone lay nearby, held down by a red strand wrapped around its base. Somewhere there was fire, not everywhere, but enough to make it terrifying. No crowd, people were watching from a distance and backing away. You could hear dull impacts, like someone was hitting metal. And in the middle of the road stood Red Venom. Big. Red strands stretched across the asphalt and hooked onto streetlights like he was drawing a boundary. Facing him was the regular Venom, black. He moved calmly, confidently. They stared at each other for a few seconds, smoke rolling between them like a wall. Then they closed in. The strands went taut, snapped against the asphalt, and new ones appeared instantly. Red pressed with brute force and speed. Black slipped aside and came back, like he was waiting for the right moment. I stood there thinking, this isn't about him living with me anymore. This is about the fact that Red didn't come to run. He came to meet him. Red Venom glanced in my direction for a second, the same way he used to. Then back at the black one. The black one took another step forward, and in the next second, Red did something that could change that street for a long time. My experiment failed. To be continued. Want to see what happened next? Subscribe to the channel and comment if you're waiting for the next part. And tell me in the comments who I should try to find and tame next time. I'll read every idea and pick the best one. See you in the next videos.